Hello. Today I want to talk about testing MCP servers with Promptfoo. Now, MCP is basically just a new protocol to connect an LLM to tools. Hence, Promptfoo is either going to test the MCP server directly or it'll be testing a system that the MCP server is connected to. And to that end, we present three different scenarios that Promptfoo can simulate. Now, the typical kind of vulnerabilities that exist with an MCP server are things like specific attacks like tool poisoning or data exfiltration, authentication hijacking, etc., etc. And so each of these scenarios kind of targets those specific cases. So scenario number one is going to be testing an MCP server with a tested client. So this is going to be when you just take your MCP server and connect it to an LLM straight out of the box, maybe with a system prompt. In this case, in this example over here, we've connected it to GPT-4. And there's like multiple ways to connect your MCP server in particular. This is going to specifically just connect to your MCP server, list out all the tools, and then feed it into our red team generator in order to try to test for different vulnerabilities that your MCP server might be vulnerable to. We have a suite of different plugins over here that we recommend. MCP tries to do like tool misuse. There's PII. Both of these are for trying to bypass authorization. There's a SQL injection plugin over here. And we also recommend adding different plugins from our list in order to figure out different vulnerabilities that might be more domain specific to your MCP server. These are the strategies that we recommend. These will try to do multi-turn attacks in order to figure out different vulnerabilities. Now, custom policies are also another way that you can specifically customize the kind of vulnerabilities that you want to uncover. Scenario number two is tool poisoning, and this is an MCP specific attack that exploits the fact that whenever you have an MCP server, all of your tool descriptions are going to be loaded into the LLM's context, and as such, there can be like vulnerabilities related to like either tool shadowing or adding malicious instructions for your LLM. So Promptfoo will simulate kind of like a situation where your MCP server is connected to a client that also has a malicious MCP server. And to that end, we've open sourced an evil MCP server over here, which will simulate this exact scenario by basically having some malicious instructions that will try to invoke a tool call whenever another MCP tool call is made. Scenario number three is direct MCP testing, and this is perhaps the least useful, but this is going to be Promptfoo directly connecting to your MCP server and making tool calls directly. So this is not a natural language attack. It'll be direct API only, and this is going to simulate different function tool calls with different parameters in hopes of trying to bypass authorization or test for unsanitized arguments, that sort of thing. We'd also recommend plugging the MCP server into a red team agent into an agent in particular. We've provided an example over here. So what this will do is this will actually go ahead and call your MCP server. It will be trying to combine different inputs from the tool calls in order to find vulnerabilities in the MCP implementation in particular. These are all the different ways that you can kind of like test an MCP server. We also have some additional instructions over here to integrate with CI/CD, but of course, these are the main ways that you can test your MCP server with Promptfoo. Thank you.